welcome to our time today. I'm Lori Lamantia, and I'm here with the beautiful Tricia Fiske. Hello.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Today, we're going to talk about what we're calling original abundance, which is our way of saying that place that we all came from, the unlimited, infinite potential abundance place that we come from before we're born and as we're brought into the earth. We are this like bundle of joy and grace and wonder and magic, and giving ourselves permission to journey back to that place where we are infinite magic so we can remember and re-feel it. And Trish has been working through the book and she said one of the things, the next section is working on the inner child. And I think that all of our children, our inner children, probably had some less than wonderful abundance experiences as we were growing up. Um,
Right.
so Trish, that's kind of how I would introduce this. I'm not sure how you would, but I think that might want to tell a story too.
Okay. So, yeah, I have a story about this, and Lori and I have talked about how a lot of our beliefs about abundance and prosperity come from our family and our family's beliefs about what those things are. And those are shaped by their families and on generationally. Um, but yeah, there's also, when parents are living on a budget and they're managing their money, there's those things that they think are priorities, or the things that are important and the things that are not important. So my story is that I when I started kindergarten, I was always in choir because at Catholic church and school, um, and I was a soprano. And so the choir teacher had spoken to my mother and said that I had my voice was, and I'm trying to be modest when I say this, but my voice was good enough that I would really do well with lessons, and lessons would take me further, vocal lessons.
Mhm.
And to my mother, vocal lessons, like singing vocal lessons, was like the very low on her priorities of
Right.
what would be good for me to be interested in. So obviously just said no right off. But I loved singing, and I was in choir, like all the way, even my first year away at college, I was in the college choir. I loved singing. It was
Mhm.
a really great expression for me. Um,
How did it make you
so
feel when she said no? What did what did little Trisha feel when she said no, you don't get vocal lessons? That's not
right.
money.
Yeah, that money was not for fun things or things that made you happy. Love money was just for bills,
Right.
or right, just for, not for exploring and discovering and having fun, just for the build part of it, which is what I'm separating it with my tone of voice. I'm not saying it very well, but there's the fun stuff, and there's the responsibilities, right?
So you
But
use
in
money
do
for responsible stuff, not for
and not for fun, and in doing that, it's set up in my mind, and I know it because I still pull this out now in my life, is that it almost in a way set up for me that I only make money to pay bills. I
mm,
don't make money to support fun things and adventures and things like that are just about treating myself and exploring my inner world. Money's about paying your bills. Period.
right. Oh, and that's
Right.
interesting because what if you're always trying to minimize your bills? That means by necessity, you don't need as much money because you're trying to minimize your bills. We are powerful creators, and it kind
Right.
of
So then you
circle.
work less.
Right,
Right.
right, or some
Right. And
weird
then you
other
don't have,
thing.
still don't have money to have fun.
Yeah, or you make
Right.
less with, yeah, it is. Thank you for sharing that. And and I could feel, I don't know if you also felt, and sometimes as a kid, we don't realize the message that we were getting, but did you have a
Mm.
felt sense that you weren't worth the money, or it was just like, that's not something we spend money on. It had nothing to do with you personally, that you weren't worth it. It's just that that's not what you spend money on.
It was more, that's not what you spend money on. And I can see, and I'm saying that confidently because I can see how I made that choice. Because when I turned 16, I started working right away so that I would have my own money.
Right.
And the choices I made, I didn't make money to go out and have a bunch of fun. I paid
No.
my high school tuition so I could stay in Catholic school and not go to public school. And I had a car, so I paid for the gas so that I could drive everybody everywhere, but not to join a choir. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not for to take art classes or dance classes or something fun like that. It was to pay the bills. That's what I was taught. That's what you work for. That's what your money's for, right?
Well, it's funny when you were saying that story, it reminded me, I always felt like a burden, like I was a financial burden to my family. And, I too, at really early age, was like, oh man, I'm going to go and make my own money. I never asked for money. I never, if I got money, I stored it up. But I didn't want their cars. I didn't want them to pay for school. It was around not being a burden, a financial burden. And I used to get mad, like, why did you even have us? Kids cost, I would articulate it that way now, but back then I was like,
Right.
we're such a pain in the ass. Why the fuck did you have us in the first place? And maybe that's, a little, no, that wasn't too strong. That's how I felt. I articulated it a lot. Um, and so, yeah, and these are all things that happen, and we don't know what this is the thing about when you're a kid, you don't know what to do with them. You're in the middle of
Right.
experiencing them, you have no context for them. And so you store them in different ways, you come up with different belief systems and things, and we tell ourselves stories all the time, not stories, they're conclusions about those situations all the time. And those are kind of the things where they write on our soul, they write on on ourselves, and they become an indelible, sometimes never forgotten, but not always conscious, things we say to ourselves. It kind of reminds me of this story that I heard when I was working once, and it was about this. It was this cute story about how when a child's born, they're born into the world with a little empty blank canvas under their arm, and it's so they can come and write their life story, and have somewhere to keep, to create their lives into. And what happens is, as soon as the child's born, the doctor grabs the scroll and it's like, hey, we got to start teaching this person stuff. So the doctor writes on the scroll, and then the nurses, and then the parents, and everybody starts putting all kinds of, marks and pictures and words and thoughts and ideas all over this blank canvas. And then they go through school and and then all of a sudden they hand it back to you, or you get it back, it feels like, after you're done with school, maybe at 16 or 20 or whatever. And it's scribbled all over with all their stuff. You have never even put your stuff on it. And and I think and that's not about a judgment, and it's certainly not to make anyone feel bad, because I get why parents do what they do. They're doing,
Right.
totally know parents are doing the best that they can with how they are,
Right.
and what they know. I mean, today, forever, grandparents, young parents, it doesn't matter. I get all that. But what we're talking about here is, how do we support that little person? How do we honor that little girl and that little boy who did make a conclusion about themselves, who were written on, who, first, how do we honor that? Second, how do we let them know, God, I love you? and you really matter. You really matter. And, and remember, you came in a perfect, blank, amazing, unlimited, free original, abundant being. How do we, me, big Lori, and that young little Lori, go back before all the scribble, back to that blank canvas and say, what do I want to write on that canvas now?
Right. Yes. And again, it's so important. Like we're not blaming. I'm not blaming my mother. My mother was shaped by her family and she, growing up during the Depression and stuff like that. It's generational.
Yeah,
What we're actually saying is go back and rewrite it. You can.
right.
You can.
You can.
Be right, because you were raised in an environment with those beliefs and fears doesn't mean that you own them.
Right, right. Or they
Right.
just because they were written there doesn't mean you can't erase them or say,
Erase
this
them
one
and go
doesn't work.
back.
Right.
Right.
Clear it
What do
out.
I, yeah, what do I want now? And that's exciting. It's in a way like go back and be a child. Like, be a child for a little bit. Be a blank slate. Like, God, what does get me excited and what is fun and it's one of the things I love about being a grandmother is watching this little kid discover life with so much innocence. It's just like blows my mind. And
Mhm,
so
mhm.
I have another little story here about her. She, as a little kid, she didn't really like being in the car so much unless she just fell asleep. And then she decided she liked being in the car because she liked going shopping. She
Ah,
liked
yeah.
going
Who doesn't love go
shopping.
shopping, right?
Right. She liked going to Walmart and to right. So she when she plays with her toys, they're always friends and they talk to each other, whether
Mhm.
it's crayons or markers or
Aw.
cars or right picture frames. One day the picture frames were talking to each other, but she was playing with cars one day and she she said, okay guys, we're going shopping, let's go shopping. And so the cars went up and went shopping together. It's just so innocent though. It's like just the joy of joy is okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to just be excited and be joyful about something, and there's no restriction or limit or redirection
Mhm, mhm.
for it. And that's what's so beautiful to watch. And that's what, kind of inspires me like, we can do that. We can do
Right.
that.
Yeah, would it be, when you were saying that, I was thinking about, I could see a grown-up saying, oh, cars can't be friends. And, we drive
Right.
cars. Cars don't drive themselves. Coming, yes, they will. I mean,
Right.
there's so many things that are we're imbued with all these rules. These are the things that are scribbled on our canvas, about what can happen and what can't happen and how it's gonna happen and all that stuff. And before our original abundance person, energy doesn't have any of those rules. Anything's possible. Everything's possible. Cars can talk to each other. Cars can be friends. We can all go shopping. Or, just I
Right.
just really appreciate that story because it's so pure. And I think we do all come in as these pure, I know we come in as these pure energies. And that's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is how do
Right.
we how do we give ourselves the gift of returning to that purity, to that innocent, playful, joyous, unstructured, unrule bound, free energy system that is brilliant beyond every rule that we've ever made up on Earth.
Right. And is just finds joy in that. Just finds joy in the playful part of it, not the result, not so
Right.
result focused. And right. So what we're trying to say through all these stories and all this is that we still have access to that place in ourselves. And that's a place of abundance and prosperity because it really is unlimited. And how do we allow ourselves to get back there? And I'll say for myself that it seems to me that the times when I just allow myself just a fragment of time, that's enough to start to break it open.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit of that joy and abundance and prosperity, feeling and sensation is enough to start the process in motion.
Yes, totally. Yeah, and I think that's another reason why yoga nidra or meditation, all those wonderful things, they stop our minds from doing all their boxing in with the rules and the things and allow us to really re-access that unlimited place that we know is we came through as. Um, yes, thank you for saying that. And the other thing I was feeling was, when we do, I think doing inner child work is really, really beautiful because sometimes that little guy or gal wasn't noticed. They were just, pulled through in the flood of, so much stuff that's going on for our parents, trying to be good
Right.
parents and take care of us and all that stuff. And, so I do think there is an honoring of that little one too. There is the going back to the original, but I do think there is something about listening to them and saying, hey, well, because they were closer to remembering why we came here in the first place anyway. What's there? What did little
Right.
Tricia, what was her, what was like the juju excitement that, and it sounds like singing was a big part of little Tricia. Didn't it mean you have to make a living at it, but it certainly means,
Right.
you
Right.
know, enjoying expression, the expression. Um, but I do think sometimes we, and some of the stuff that happens when we're kids is it's some of it's hurtful, but some of it's so great. And that of course makes us who we are. But I do think there's a lot of brilliance in that talking to that little one and honoring them and hearing them and supporting them and saying, I got you. I'm listening now.
Right. Right. And inviting you and me to go back to that place of just experiencing joy because it's there, because just shopping is
Shopping's
fun.
so fun and easy.
Shopping's so fun, right?
I
Or
do
whatever
think,
it is, or singing, or
yeah,
right,
yeah.
whatever it is that when you do it, you lose yourself for just a little bit.
Right, right. When you were saying that, I was almost thinking, I was feeling, but there was that little person in there that is pissed or that was hurt, and I think when I feel like honoring, I think honoring the things she loved, but I also think honoring the things, saying, hey, I see, I appreciate what you went through and we're here now, and I get, I, I, I love you. I guess. And if you want to be pissed for a little while, because I remember my little Lori is like, she's got some rage. I mean, there's definitely some rage there. And now I see why she has rage. And it was her way of powering through stuff that she didn't want to deal with, or she didn't know how to deal with. And now
Mhm.
I say thank you because I love where we are now. And she kept me in the game.
Right.
So I really
Right.
appreciate her too. So there is that, I do think there is that inner work and it's many faceted, but it's appreciating the dance and it's appreciating what happened. If there's something inside of you that wants honoring, I think that's the first and foremost thing is to honor that little one and see her.
And
And
yeah, and in doing so, you're really honoring yourself now. because you are the result of all those hurts and wounds and things that happen throughout your life.
Yes, absolutely. So I think, I don't know, I really think, I'm hoping that we're kind of bringing home this point about, we come in our original state as magical and abundance, and there's things that go on, and so it's worth taking going back and clearing or freeing or honoring, and then, and then now, like you said, the opportunity to go back and reconnect with that original abundance and refeel it. That's really what we're talking about.
Yes. And I'd like to, again, from Tasha Silver's book, It's Not Your Money, How to Live Fully from Divine Abundance, I'd like to share a little prayer in loving that kid. I offer this to you, O beloved. Allow the wall to fall that separates me from my own vulnerable child. Show the route that reunites us with patience and faith. I long to take care of myself like never before.
Beautiful. It's funny, when you first read the quote before we got on, I was thinking about beloved as the God force. But when you read it that time, I felt beloved as my little person, my little Lori, the beloved that I want her to know she's a beloved. That was really sweet. Thank you. This was lovely. I feel like I feel like we opened up a doorway to something magical that I kind of forgot about as we're talking. I read this article about Diane von Furstenberg, and she's like, all of us are born with a magic wand. We are magic wand. I know, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're all magic wands. We're all these magical little wands that come in, spurting love and light and joy and possibility. And that's what we're talking about, getting back to that original magic and wonder.
Yes, and I also want to bring up, Lori, you've written a couple of children's books.
Yes, I love writing children's books. I really do. They're really
And so
fun.
talk about that for a minute, because that must be your inner child. You talking to your inner child.
I think it's that part of me that likes talking to Willow, Let's have, it's my Willow. It's my grown up talking with Willow. Okay, let's have cars, and let's them be friends, and let's decorate them, and then let's go to the store, and it's all that, it's all that fun joy coming out where there is no creative rules. It's just, there is no rules. It's the part of me that feels completely free of not having all the, grown-up stuff. Let's call it the grown-up stuff. I love remembering what it was like, what I imagine what it was like to be like a little kid with pigtails and whatever, no rules, no responsibilities, no trying to make anybody happy, or, stay out of the way so somebody doesn't get mad at me. None of that.
Right.
Yeah. All that stuff.
Yeah, that stuff I'm really tired of, right?
Right. Yes. So thank you for mentioning that. And I hope and I do. That's right. That's why we're having this talk. Let yourself do the deep dive into this. Sometimes it's messy, but the real result is that you're giving yourself permission to reconnect with that original magic wand.
Yes. And so what if it's messy?
So what? Right.
Right.
Go ahead and rage out,
Right.
punch, yell, scream, cry, bleh, get it out.
Right. Yeah. Quit stuffing it. Yeah.
Right. Make room for the flow. Make room for the flow that was always there.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week and enjoy your exploration. I think that little one is looking forward to having a nice, beautiful time with you. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Well, bye, everyone.